This goes beyond just a murder. Beyond everything I believe.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is April the 28th. You guys have hopefully just watched Under the Banner of Heaven. This is exclusive to Hulu, but this is FX on Hulu. And I'm here with my co-host, Lucas. What's going on, brother?
I did not know this was on FX for Hulu and not just FX. That's weird.
Right.
Huh.
But yeah, so Under the Banner of Heaven is a mini-series. I can't remember the exact episode number, but we are going to be overviewing the first two episodes that just debuted. This is going to be spoiler talk, so we're going to go into a lot of details. So if you have not seen the episode yet, go and check it out first and then come back because we're going to go and do an all overview. So the backdrop of this, we got Pyrie. Pyrie is a detective. I think this is taking place in Salt Lake City, Utah. And he's a family man. He's got two daughters. And he goes to the scene of a crime that he's called from. I think his mother, I think she may be dealing with like Alzheimer's, or she's dealing with something to that nature where mentally she doesn't retain as much information anymore. And so he leaves to go, and he gets to the scene of crime. He recognizes the house. And they show like him watching all the different things, like the blood on the door, the blood on the floor, what presumably looks like a cut, I think a vacuum cleaner that was wrapped around somebody's neck. And then he goes to the actual other room and finds that as well as the baby and the mother are both dead. And he is destroyed by that. And so he goes outside to check with his partner, Bill. And then all of a sudden you see the husband of the house, Alan, coming bloody. And that is where this kind of opens up. The biggest thing that I left out of that is that he is a very religious man and he is Mormon. And the family that this was affected by, the mother and the daughter, and even Alan, they profess to be Mormons. And so this is going to be a test of his faith, his relationship, his community, and also him and just his perception as a detective. Lucas, what was your first impression of, I guess, the first two episodes of the show?
Well, after it took me forever, and I mean forever, to get the name of this right. I don't know why I wanted to call this Under the Tuscan Sun for the longest time. I wanted to call it Heaven's Gate, everything humanly possible, but Under the Banner of Heaven. Now, because it took me so long to get the name right, I did research everything to get it properly right. One, I did not know this was a nonfiction book.
Right.
Which unto itself makes a lot of sense with this series. And again, as you say, with opening up with the murders and
right.
And then going into the doctrine of the Church of Latter-day Saints and their interpretation of how that church used to operate versus how it operates now.
Right.
There's just different sects within the church and how they operate was great to see, especially in this first episode. It is shot like the perfect 1980s thrilling cop show. Right. So if you ever seen something of that nature, I'm trying to think like a off episode of not Columbo. What's the other one? Like an off episode of an 80s version of Law and Order.
Okay.
That's the way it really comes across that way. Just with more heightened, better performances. It looks great on screen. What's really throwing me off, and I'm just gonna be real. This was really throwing me off about this show. Okay, first things first. Them being Mormon plays a huge part of this element.
It's huge
part of this element. And in this first episode, even as they bring in the husband for questioning, we see that at times for Andrew Garfield's character, the religious aspect trumps him actually investigating the case properly.
Right.
And when that happens, it completely threw me off. because you just in anything you're accustomed to seeing, you're not expecting that to be the thing that really throws someone off. Like
Right.
it's one scene, and I know I'm skipping ahead huge, but it's
No,
on
that's
my
fine.
mind right now. It's one scene where they're interrogating the Alan. I think it was
yeah.
Alan, right?
Mhm.
And Andrew's partner,
Bill.
Bill,
Mhm.
Gil Birmingham. Yeah. He's interrogating him, and he's on the brink of breaking him.
Yep, sure is.
And Andrew just busts in because he said something pertaining to his wife that hit home for Andrew's character, for the religious aspects of their relationship.
Yep.
And the moment he busts in, the whole thing shut down.
Yep.
And there, in that one scene, I think you're going to get the crux of what the issues in this series are going to be. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the way of, can you truly separate your religious beliefs from you needing to solve this crime?
You're
It
calls
is
to the line of duty. Right?
Yeah, it's a conflict that Andrew's character experiences a lot in these first 2 episodes, and I love it when he experiences it because it really humanizes him a lot.
Yeah.
Because you see the importance of family to him and to his religion, how important that is to him, and this man now appears to be testing his religious beliefs.
Right. And it's to me it's organic, and at the same time it's really meaty. What I mean by meaty is not like it's like the concept and what happens is really heavy. Like it is pretty tragic. It's pretty rough. What I mean by meaty is that there are so many different layers. You have Andrew and what he professes to believe, and is also trying to do his duty as a cop and as a partner. Then you have, Alan, and what he's proposing is the reality that we can't interpret what's real, what's not, because he's coming from a jaded perspective on his relationship with this religion now, because very finitely different. Then you have the actual history of Alan's family as well as their action religion. They literally go through the different stages. Like I was kind of like, why is he going in this open dialogue and open monologue? Then it starts to unravel even more so in the second episode when they start to go through how this was all started, how this was all where it was, the persecution from a government standpoint, how even before it plays resonance with this. And then going to Alan's family, when they started going to Alan's family and what they are about and who they are and how the inner workings of hierarchy are, that's what I mean by meaty. There's a lot there's a lot of content with this, and I don't know, man, it's good, but it's a lot. Like, I'm saying all that to say that, like, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, and I feel like I've seen like 4 episodes, honestly. But they do a good job of editing it. They do a good job of like pacing it out, but it's just a lot. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. It's a lot of storytelling. You know what I mean?
Again, we got to credit. I'm assuming you got to credit the novel with this, because that is one thing that the novel does. It jumps from the current story. It took 2 things. It took the murders that happened, and it took the history of the church, the history of it, which is highly important, because then you see the prophet that they follow and why they follow those beliefs, and we see that interjected into this family, and then we see this family in modern day, and we see how those beliefs, they're attempting their best to hold on to them while they're not actually working well for them.
It's not working well for them at all.
We don't see anybody. I don't remember seeing anybody happy in this family. Everybody puts on a great facade, but none of them are actually happy.
Yeah, I think the only one that actually seemed upbeat in all 4 was Brenda, the girl that died. Like she interjected herself within this family to try to help them. and she tried to do whatever it is, whether it's like helping with an accountant with one of the wives, whether it was like picking up rocks to help out with the guys doing. I was like, when that scene happened, I was like, yo, somebody gonna slap this girl, because I was reading the room. I was like, all the women were sticking to where they were doing, and when she went out there with the kids, I was like,
and it's partially because while she's also a Mormon, she didn't grow up with their beliefs.
right.
I think it's in the first episode when I think she's thrown off by one of the wives who married her husband, but she was divorced from a previous marriage.
Right.
That threw her off a little bit. It threw her off when she said a Mormon that drinks and smokes. Like that threw her off. So we understand like she has a different belief system than they do. Right. While they both like believe in the same religion, she just has a completely different belief system. The equivalent of being Catholic and Baptist.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we all going down the same road, but it's completely different. And she wants to be more independent. Here, the wives are not independent at all. And they believe that they should control. As one of the brothers said, when he felt that she was getting too out of line, like, brother, you need to control your property.
Yeah, like property.
Yeah.
Not your woman, not your wife, not your whatever, like your property. And I was like, and I think this is the thing that I was gonna, it makes this a good conversation, is that what line does Andrew's Pyrie believe? You know what I'm saying? Like the whole entire time we're hearing them talk about what the family believe, but the reality is we don't necessarily know what Andrew, how they level out a lot of this. You know what I mean? Like you see certain glimpses of it when he was talking to his daughter about the ring and the promise and what she needs to do and how she needs like ask God for forgiveness. We see that the wife is planning a lot of different things and trying to keep to a certain level head, but it seems like, to me, it seems like the wife might be hiding some stuff. And I felt like there was a difference in belief between their family. I don't know, because a lot of the times those flashbacks where they show like the original origin, sometimes they show like the other family, but a lot of times they have Andrew right there with the other family. Yeah, because
I think he said at one point he knew the family.
And we don't know where his line lies, because I think the Gil was Alan brought it up towards the end of the first episode. He was like, look, it was these folks that have these big beards, and they're the ones you need to be looking for. They're the ones that are connected to all this. And I think Bill was like, oh, I know them. They are these such and suches.
Yep.
And all of a sudden Andrew was offended. He's like, no, you can't just believe that. And then even when to the camp person was like, yeah, there's some people out here with some beards. And he was like, yeah, maybe do an APB, check in on it, but it shouldn't be that serious. And I was just like, yo, Andrew, like you are being.
It's because he said our religion bans those.
Right.
See, but then you kind of wonder, when the moment he says our religion bans those, which sect of this religion are you a part of then?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
I think so far in the first two episodes, that's left in the air for a reason.
I agree.
Like, you need to leave it in the air that, yes, we understand they're all Mormons, but they're not all the same.
Right.
So what does it mean when you're in these different sects of this religion and how they operate? And I think that's the conflict we get with Andrew's character here. It's him attempting to navigate it all.
Right. I give a lot of huge shout out to Billy. I think it's Billy Howie, that plays the role of Alan Lafferty, the youngest dude. Man, look, every single scene that he was in, I'm trying to process what is real. Not even what is real on a general level, but what he perceives to be reality. You know what I'm saying? Because his belief system is so jaded and off, but then he's still trying to hold on to these cores. And I don't know if what his actions are, if he believes that they're actually right and justified, or if he's like just a little bit like, no, I'm telling the truth, but I'm not gonna sell out my people, kind of thing. I really don't know, and he's playing it so well.
I think you could get a hint of that in the first episode when they're having a conversation about him loving his wife, and he said the best thing I could have done for her was take her away from these people.
Yeah, she did. He did. He definitely did.
I think that's him understanding, no matter how much I love these people, possibly this may no longer be my belief system.
Right.
And because his love for her, I think that leads, or it seems like it's leading to changing his belief system.
It definitely is, because even more so in the second episode, he technically removed himself from his family, and tried to make her family his family.
Yep.
And and he was failing. The dad was like, yeah, something doesn't tick here. I got a bad feeling. I got a bad vibe. And I think Alan, like, he really did love her, or really does love her. But he's got so much of that stuff ingrained in him that the dad, it was just a red flag. He could feel it. The dad could feel it. And it was like, she was taking it offensively because she was like, well, you don't really know him. I'm like, nah, something's just off. And sure enough, he went outside trying to help the little kids and set fire to the darn tree. And I felt so bad for Alan. I was like, he doesn't have anywhere to go. Like he can't put or keep his wife in the situation with his family. And yet he's so far gone that nobody's going to want to keep with him from her family.
It's the conflict of like, I'm trying my best to fit in, but I was raised so differently from you,
right?
That I'm uncomfortable with a lot of things that you all do,
right?
It's just the love for hers was attempting to push him through it, but boy, is he struggling trying to make it. Yeah. And then through all of this, we understand that these are flashbacks happening here.
Right.
In reality, he's right now currently in the police precinct, trying to explain what happened to his wife and his daughter. Like, that's another thing I love. Not only are you getting the flashback to the family, but you get the flashback all the way to the beginning, to the flashback of why that family is the way they are.
Right.
And then you still get the current day things that are going on here with them attempting to solve this murder.
Right.
Murders.
Right. Because you find out in the very first episode that there's like a hierarchy change. Like the dad had some issue with Sam Worthington's, which is who was originally the oldest. And then it ends up getting passed over to Wyatt Russell's. I forget the name of his character. I can't remember if it was Willie or something like that.
Dan.
But Dan ends up, being the head of the household, even though Sam Worthington is way more accomplished. And even the mom was kind of like, no, like, you hold on to this belief. There's some spite there. There's some bitterness. There's some strife. Yeah. And then Dan had the second to the youngest that was helping him. So in the first act of the second episode, they find out that, I forget his name.
Which one?
The other brother that's in the precinct in the second episode. I forget his name, but you find out in that he had his wife in a hotel. He tried to escape, and he said, "Yeah, like I think
that was Robin, right? Robin.
Yep. So when Pyrie was questioning him, he was like, "Why'd you run from us?" He was like, "Well, we felt like the police was gonna use this and persecute against us, just like they've always done. The government doesn't, yada yada yada." You could tell that he was off, but it was very different from Alan. And also he had a very big beard. And so you were kind of like, what is actually happening right now? And at the same time, I think Bill had went out to the camp into the woods to try to figure out like who are these people.
Man, that's a really freaky part of the second episode when he goes out to the woods. Kind of
scary, I'm not gonna lie.
The can shaking, and the setup of the trap.
Bruh.
But again, this is someone who really doesn't trust people in this religion. And so far, he's given perfectly good reason why not to trust just this family. And I think that's the struggle of this show, is you have Andrew who's at times leading with his religion, the love for it. So he's excusing things he shouldn't. And then you have Bill on the opposite end. He clearly has spite for this religion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, down to tempting Andrew with French fries, which he should have done. Like, so his hatred is so good, so grand for this religion. It blinding him to some of the other things he should be paying attention to.
Right.
So it's like you have two cops that are very much being compromised in a way, and at times it's throwing them off during this investigation.
Right, because Bill is, I believe, Native American, and he had said something to the nature of like a racial bias towards like Kyrie's perspective towards him.
He said, "I know I'm a little darker than most people that you're accustomed to having around here."
Right.
When Andrew never brought up his race as being an issue.
He didn't.
But you see that's just something within him that he automatically believes about that religion.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I mean, we're in 2022. People actually still believe that about that religion. So it makes sense for them to even bring that up here.
Right. And I think this takes place in like 1984.
Yeah,
something
1984.
Like that. 84.
Yep.
So yeah, to close out my thoughts on the first episode, I think that it kept the wheel spinning enough for me to be intrigued, but it was just so weird, bro. Like it was so meaty and weighty that I was like, I don't know, where is this really going? And then by the time we got to the second episode, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is getting very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
But Pyrie, or Andrew Garfield's character, is a liability. I was going to ask you about Andrew's performance. I think he's doing a great job, but do you think that I know this is going to sound weird, is he too good of an actor to be in this role? Do you understand what I mean by that? I don't know how to really explain it. Like, there's times where I feel like he's not overacting at all. I'm not saying he's overacting, but he's such a good, talented actor that I was like, it's not taking me out of it, but I was like, should he be here? Like, I don't know how to explain it. Do you understand what I mean by that?
I understand what you mean, and I have a different take on that.
Okay.
And we are not bashing Andrew Garfield in this show.
No.
He's really good in this show.
Yeah, he is.
But at times, to me, it's not that he's too good for it. He feels miscast as this character. Like, it's other actors who I think this role would have fit better. And that's what's coming across more to me, is especially in the first episode. In the first episode, I was completely like, okay, they clearly cast the wrong person for this role. Like, they looked at the talent level and said, oh, well, clearly he can act, so he can clearly do this. But the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking in my head of other people who could have been cast in this role. Like, this is a big role. So I'm thinking of the other people that could have been cast in this role, including some television actors. Because you didn't need a movie star. You didn't need someone who can dive into a character and nail a character. And I was like, there's other people that could have done this. In the second episode, the quietness of his performance is why he's in it. And then you see, okay. Andrew does a good job with conflicted characters.
Very.
And that's why he's in this role. Granted, I'm still not 100% sold he's the right person for this role. But he's, from episode 1 to episode 2, the performance is much better.
Yeah. It was something about like the very beginning of the first episode that I was kind of like so it was weird. It was like I was watching his reaction to the crime scene, and I was like, man, he's putting, because this is the thing, Andrew, he can emote so well with just this right here. And then he also adds in expressionism, man. Like, he puts his heart and soul like right out there like that. And I'm like, hang on, this is a whole lot this early on. Like, Like, bro, I don't even know you just yet, you know? And so, but I knew that they had to make this a pivotal moment. So I think what's going to happen, honestly, is when we get the curtain gets pulled down from who Andrew actually is and what line he's in, it's going to reference back to that moment as to why he reacted the way he did.
Yeah.
So it may be that he didn't just react to the crime or what happened, but maybe he understands what went down. I don't really know because I don't know Andrew just yet as a character. I know that Pyre is an interesting character, but like you said, going into the second episode, I was like, oh man, he's messing up.
Yeah, you're just questioning at times when you see him and you're like, okay, if this is purposely being done this way,
right?
Or is it just that his emoting just comes across at times as making you think he's not the right person for this role?
I guess we're gonna have to see, because I think the fact is that in this only two episodes, again, I feel like this felt like 4 episodes total. Like I feel like it's a whole lot.
It's a lot that goes on.
Because I could just talk off of Bill being out there in the woods. Poor Bill. And I was like, he said to Andrew, he said, look, bro, if it gets to be like I'm out here, I'm supposed to be out here for an hour. If it's more than that, 30 minutes over, please get somebody. Make sure the police are down there, out there after me. This man, Pyre, sitting there still interrogating folks. I'm like, bro, look at your watch, bro. Like this dude might die. And the way that they ended it. Go ahead.
In realistic fashion, he wouldn't have paid any attention to it.
Yeah. He honestly, Bill should have probably went out there with like
another sheriff deputy or somebody. But remember, they say it's only 18. We only have 18 cops here.
Yeah, and they were all freaked out. Like I think the first episode, the dude, he's throwing up. He was like, ready to go home.
We got 18 cops, and none of them are used to murders.
Right. So, and I think that also plays to what Bill was saying. Like maybe nobody cared to go down there with him, because none of them really interact with him. None of them,
because he's an outsider.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what his thoughts about their religion comes into play at, is because he's such an outsider here.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else we need to kind of tackle. I guess
necessarily in the first episode, because the first episode, again, it just sets up the second episode, and then we get the craziness as they just expand upon the message of what this family currently is, along with where the murder investigation is heading to, and then doing an amazing job of giving you the history of a church that unfortunately a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
Because when you do learn more about them, it brings up questions. And here in this, they do a great job of like, okay, we're going to run through some lessons of Church of Latter-day Saints. And different sects in it. And then we get this completely different sect in it. And hey, they broke off for this reason. They also don't believe in this, but they believe in this. Right. They clearly don't believe women have rights, but they believe in other things. Like, it's so much going on here. Like the wife. I can't remember whose wife it is.
I think it is Dan's wife. That's Dan's wife in the second episode, the one that was taking care of the tax.
Is it Diana?
I think so.
When she's talking to Brenda and she's like, she asked her to pray with her.
Oh yeah, because she said she couldn't hear the Holy Spirit.
She could no longer hear the Holy Spirit. Right. And she's like, I used to hear him all the time. Like, I think that was a very interesting line to put in there. That was a very interesting conversation to have.
It was.
Of like, when you feel that at one point you're so close to your religion, and at this point you're going through trials, and you feel like
disconnected.
You're completely disconnected from it. And then the fear, it seemed to come over her when she was about to leave, and she says, "Don't leave me.
Don't leave me. Don't leave me, please." Yeah, that was interesting. It's weird. Like, I don't know what story thread or timeline the most invested in because the family is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna get your perspective on the family. Like, what's your take? What's your take from, I guess, the second episode?
The easy take to have is that all of these people are crazy. That's the easy take to have, and that's the one a lot of people are going to come to that conclusion. Like, everybody in this family is absolutely crazy, but no, it's we see the challenge of the hierarchy in this family.
Yeah,
we understand again their religious background. We see the importance of that to this family,
right.
and how they're trying their best to hold on to their beliefs in a modern world that's changing completely around them. And I think that is one of the biggest conflicts here. Like, the world is changing around them and they're trying to hold on to these beliefs, which in turn is actually at times crippling the growth of their family.
Right.
And how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, man, without going too deep into it, it's kind of like imagine a Baptist church that you used to go to and the pandemic happened. And they know for a fact they can't have anybody actively in the church anymore. And they know that, oh man, the flock still needs to be fed, so to speak. But they're not willing to adapt to doing virtual. Like, and souls are going past, and then people are going to different churches, or they're losing their belief because they didn't progress with what's going on in the environment. They're not looking to see what's going on around them. Something similar is going on with this, but it's way more specific, especially in the second episode.
Yeah, because it's more specific to the family.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, a lot of the separation that happened between these sects in this church is specifically this family.
Yep.
And that's the element that completely separates it from anything else. Because that means this family's look as a leader
in the community, in
the
area.
Yeah. But we see behind closed doors, this family is falling apart.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, I think that same, was it the first episode where the guy visited their little shindig or whatever,
and the wife said, I think I made a mistake because I let someone in.
Right.
And then we see that I want to say we see that he's a different Mormon than they are.
He seemed like he was, because the dad embraced him, but Sam Worthington was like, no, Dad. And they had an argument midway. Yep. We didn't know what the conversation was, but Brenda saw it.
The dad and the father and the son have that confrontation, but then the father gives that speech.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always have to agree with one another, but when one person comes after one of us, they come after all of us.
Right.
But that other element of these people who are just magically coming in and attempting to take land and everything else from them.
Right. That's right. That guy was somebody was trying to take his land because he didn't clear it and he didn't have the hands to do it. And they were still going to press him for it. And so the whole entire family goes out there and clears lots. But really, it was actually the kids and the men. The women were not clearing any rocks or anything.
No.
And Brenda, of course, did. And she was looked at crazy.
Which also hurts her in this family. Right. But again, Brenda's raised in a family that the women were allowed to be independent and do things of this nature without having an issue.
Right. Oh my gosh! I just realized the shirt I have on.
Yeah. So it brings up how can you mingle two people that may believe in the same form of religion, but they don't practice it the exact same way? How does that work? Especially if one person is on the more extreme side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you try to get someone who was a practicing Jew versus an Orthodox Jew, and you're like, okay, I don't know how that's going to work. Or Roman Catholic and somebody from the Episcopal Church, and see how would those two blends work? Like, yes, the basis of your beliefs are the exact same, but then there's so much stuff in between that is different that is gonna cause a conflict.
I think the scary aspect about the show is that it's one thing, if the family look at her and look down on her, but it's another thing if the way that they were verbalizing it, especially in the second episode from the other brother, like, yeah, nah, we couldn't have that. Like, I was like, wait, are you saying that you will be willing to get physical? Are you saying you willing to set her up? Like, and like the fact that the family was willing to do that, like family, it's not like this is somebody else in the church that's done something dirty. And, like, no, like this is the family. Like, yeah, we're gonna take care of that. Honestly, I don't know if you picked up on it, but when Dan was talking with his wife, and like Dan had I forget, it was the debt collector or whatever, and he was in there and Dan kind of waved him off with his bat or whatever, and he got out, and then he was upset, and brother tried to calm down, the wife tried to calm down, and he was looking at her like he wanted to blame her, and like then he kind of was,
didn't you get the notices? Did you get the notices?
right.
And a look on her face,
she was terrified.
Yeah,
she was terrified.
Oh, I already assumed that he beats his wife.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I was like, this is not a first time thing. And then he kind of was like, oh, well, this was a test. We're being tested. And I was like, yeah. But it's just that that altercation leading you to believe, like, bruh, anything could be going on in this family, man. And then now, present day, like, you got one brother that's bloody, the one that looked like they were sane. The other one's got a haggard beard and is working with another religious group that call themselves what? The tax dudes? I can't remember what they were called. I can't remember what they called themselves. And if those two, the ones that were kind of like the chill ones were like that, I can't even imagine what Sam Worthington's character or Wyatt Russell's like at this point. I can't even imagine it. Can you imagine it?
And that's the goal. That's how you hook somebody in the first 2 episodes. Right. You leave so much stuff open there to interpretation. Now you're confused on exactly what's going on. Who can you trust? What are they doing? Anything of that nature.
It's true. So yeah, we're gonna opt out on rating this episode or the first or second episode.
You can't rate this show. You gotta watch
ride it out. Yeah, we have to ride it out, and we'll give you our,
because it is a mini limited series.
Yeah.
So 6 episodes then.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, so 6 episodes. We 2 down, 4 to go. And it took everything in me not to want to watch the third one right away. Like this.
Oh, yeah. With the way that the way that second episode is, like, your boy Bill was knocking on that door. I was like, yo,
Bill being reckless. And the moment you see a hole in the cabin that Bill is knocking on, and he puts his head to the hole to look through it, I knew a gun was coming through there.
I was thinking Bad Boys all over again.
Yeah. Then you wonder, okay, what's going to happen with Bill? What's happening with Robin in the police station as he spazzes when he says, who do you have in the other room?
Right. So that was the weird, I don't know. So I rewatched that part. And the way that it sounded, it's like, is what Alan has been saying this whole time. Maybe he's the other brother. Because I was like, he kept on asking, like, you're referring to this, why you keep bringing up this brother? And then he says to her, he said to Robert, he was like, look, you did it. Like, you did it because you were jealous of this, and you just did it. And he's like, wait, no, what are you talking about? Like, he was dumbfounded. He was like, what are you talking about? And then he was like, who do you have in that other room? And then that's when he started freaking out. And then at the same time, they shot that well.
Yeah.
Like, the guy was like, he was sleeping, and all of a sudden he's freaking out in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So it led me to believe that Alan may have tried to kill himself. If that even is Alan. We don't even know. We don't know what brother it actually is. But I would have assumed that Pyrie would have known because he did life with these folks. So I would assume that he knew
which brother is which.
Right. unless it's that deep. Like I really don't know. I really don't know, man. But I guess we'll see. We'll be back next week for episode 3. We'll go and do same thing, deep dive after show. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell button. We've got a lot of after shows going on. We're gonna have the new Star Trek series that's gonna be debuting later on in May. That's gonna be our first review on May the 1st. I think Baby episode 2 is gonna be debuting on May the 1st. The Man That Fell to Earth episode 2 is also debuting
May the 1st. Yep.
So we got a lot of content coming in. We also got like 2 anime series that we're also going through. So,
oh yeah, Summertime Rendering and Spy Family.
Right.
And then something on May the 2nd.
Hey, you know, I heard an interesting rumor about some blue people connected with that, right?
Blue people?
Yeah, I'll talk about it later. Anyway, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. We'll be back. Peace, people.